to get started with a really quick presentation. I promise not to keep you standing here very long. I'm just going to wait for a few more to come in from outside, about 20 seconds or so. And I hope everyone enjoyed afternoon tea with Douglas. And the cucumber sandwiches were to die for. And that's so. And I hope everyone got a chance to see the actual sculpture of Douglas while you were wandering the beautiful gardens today. And after all, that's what we're here for. And I don't know where my piano player went. Oh, is he in the back? So our music this afternoon was provided by Nathan Harmon. He's an absolutely beautiful. So thank you so very much. And for those of you that know Dr. Song from Weatherford College, Nathan is one of her prodigies. And when I approached Dwayne and Dr. Song about, so do you have, one of the students from the piano program at Weatherford College that could come and play for us for this very special occasion? They unanimously like, oh yeah, it's got to be Nathan. So we appreciate, Nathan, that you gave us your Saturday afternoon to entertain us, and it felt like Ina was here entertaining her guests, so in a beautiful Steinway that we've been blessed with. So I'm hoping that everybody's gotten in from outside. I'll get started. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Ina Leslie, and I have the distinct pleasure and honor of being the president of Chandor Gardens Foundation. And thank you. And I am supported today by a large number of my fellow board members from the foundation, as well as many of the Friends of Chandor Gardens. So without all of you, these kind of wonderful events would not be happening, and the remarkable things that have been happening here at the gardens. So, like the bronze, like this Steinway piano. So, thank you for coming today. And we're just going to do a quick presentation, just an overview about how did this bronze come to be? How did it? So, obviously, we're honoring Douglas Chandor. August 20th, 1897 to January 13th, 1953. So he was only 55 years old when he passed away. At the peak of his talent, who knows what he could have achieved had he lived longer, but he did achieve a lot. So I'm just going to do a quick overview about, why we're here. Him being the acclaimed international portrait artist and the gardener that gave us this beautiful garden here. And so how did he get started? This portrait that I'm showing right now is in 1921 was the Prince of Wales, who would become King Edward VIII for a very short period of time. But this portrait is really what launched Douglas's career. And it's because of this portrait that was in a showing in London that he was literally discovered, and his agent, a fellow art critic, said, Douglas, you gotta go to the US, that's where the money is, that's where, future for artists like you is at the time. So that's why this particular portrait launched his career, which you're gonna find out in a few minutes is ironic, because it is the royal family that launched his career with this portrait. And his final portrait that he did, that was completed, was of Queen Elizabeth. And so in 1952, he created this portrait, literally months just before he passed away. And so part of his acclaim is also the Churchill portrait. For those of you that haven't toured the house, I hope you had an opportunity to have a boo at the Churchill chair that we have in the front bedroom area. It's just off the office. We are very blessed to have retrieved this chair that you see in this portrait here. Winston sitting for Douglas. It is the chair that's in that back room, and it is the chair that Winston signed. So we feel very blessed that it has come back to the house because it was sold at the Chandor estate sale. And then, of course, the Roosevelts, again, prominent part of making Douglas acclaimed. But probably the portrait that has the most meaning for those of us here in Weatherford now is this one of Ina Cuteman. So she really is the woman that brought Douglas Chandor to Weatherford, Texas. Without her and her charms and beauty and a certain party in New York, this would not all be. So this really is what brought Douglas. It is Ina. And this beautiful dress that she wore. And what I think is so wonderful about this particular portrait is that he painted himself in it as well. So if you look really closely in the mirror, you will see that the artist is in the mirror with his easel. So Douglas and Ina are forever together in this particular portrait. And it had much meaning, and it stayed in this great room as part of their household effects until their estate auction as well after Ina's passing. So this is really poignant. Now, so that was the acclaimed international artist part of Douglas. Now, the Texas gardener. Obviously, we see that every time we go out and stroll these beautiful gardens. He loved the gardens, and he really loved and felt that more of Texas should be that the open prairie be dotted with gardens, streams, and flowers. So this particular is from a postcard that was done in the early 1950s. Imagine all of that wisteria. Just stunning. And I think the Douglas quote that I love the most, and I think, really? But I guess I get it. God gave me the talent to paint the pictures that I could sell them to get the money to build the garden. And that's really what he believed. He had this immense artistic talent, yet his passion was for this garden and gardening. And so he felt that really he was given the talent to paint so he could garden. I think that's just a beautiful sentiment. So that's just a quick snapshot. There's so much more to Douglas and Ina and their life that I could go on. And between Jamie and I and a few others, we could tell stories for a long time because there's so much here. But I'm not going to do that because you guys are all standing and we only have 20 minutes. So that was just a snapshot. So that's why we felt it was important that we have some way of commemorating and remembering Douglas, because as you wander through the gardens, you have to wonder, who was this individual who built these gardens and what makes it so special? So we decided that the best way, especially being that this house is no longer open that often for the public to see, which is where photographs of Douglas can be seen by the public, so we thought we'll put a life-size bronze bust of Douglas so that you could really get a feel for the essence of the man. But to do that, we needed a modern-day Douglas-esque kind of sculptor, and we found one in Michael Pavlovsky. And Michael is here today along with his wife, back in the corner. I am going to call him Michael in a few minutes. And so, as you wandered the gardens, you will notice that Michael's had a lot already influence on these gardens. But in case you're wondering and you've wandered around the Metroplatz in the Fort Worth area, you may have seen some of Michael's other works. So for anybody that's been to the Fort Worth Botanical Gardens, there's The Birth of Love right there, prominent at the gardens. At Grapevine, there's a beautiful Coming Home statue. Then at the Baylor All Saints Hospital, there's beautiful Dance of Life sculpture. And to the south of Fort Worth, Prairie Wind. And this is just a small snapshot of some of Michael's talent and the beauty that he's able to create through sculpture. So Douglas was going to be in good hands being created by Michael. But as I mentioned, Michael has already fully embraced and channeled Douglas because he's been involved in so many of the restoration projects here in the gardens. So I'm just showing a few of the highlights of just the dragon fountain. So he redid the ceramic dragons that used to be on the fountain, which are now in the foyer here. So that was the first thing he did. Then he created the bronze version of those dragons that are in the fountain. And last but not least, he did a complete restoration of the fountain, which we love and enjoy today. He also redid Ina's Walk. He redid the diorama, the Chinese diorama. He has just finished, or just about finished, 98% finished, Michael? 99 of the moon gate. So that moon gate down by the diorama has also been restored. The boxwood fountain is out front here at the north window. That fountain has been redone by Michael. So practically every major component here, there's only a couple that Michael hasn't yet touched, but so that's who we've got working with us here, and we're very blessed that Michael is sharing his beautiful talents with us. So that's the background to Michael. And then, so he came up with the initial design concept for the portrait and bust and presented it to us, the board, for our thoughts on whether this is something that we wanted to get involved with and fundraise for and make happen. And so this is what he presented to us. And Michael, do you want to say a few words about how you approach the design and concept?
Oh,
yeah, we want to hear from the artist.
First of all, that sketch was just simply to convey the idea. It doesn't look anything like Douglas, so just so you know, it's a dimension drawing to show the size of the piece and kind of just generally what we're talking about, a portrait with him smoking his pipe. And as I may mention, I do a lot of work out in the garden, a lot of the restoration work, and I was just out there working on one of the projects one day a few years ago, and I thought, it'd really be nice, since Douglas loved his garden so much, to have a portrait of Douglas out there in the garden, since he had so many portraits of other people that he painted. So why not have a portrait of him in the garden that he loves so much? So I thought about it, and I thought, I'm going to come up with an idea and present it to the board. So I did, and then a number of years later, it kind of came to fruition. And I want to thank everybody who was involved, their generosity to help create that work of art out there. And also the committee who got the pedestal, found the pedestal, and got it installed and everything. I think they did a wonderful job. And I had nothing to do with that. Anyways, I think it turned out really well, and I'm so happy that Douglas has an image of himself, a portrait of himself out there in the garden that he loves so much.
So as the process continues from the drawing, the first step was we went and saw the clay bust at Michael's studio on February 10th of this year. And spectacular, quite amazing what was accomplished. Then, as Michael indicated, we then had to come up with how we're going to display this bust. And it actually was more of a challenge than, it was easy just to say, yeah, Michael, you make that bronze. We're like, yeah, that's good. This is an easy project. And then, whoa, what are we going to put it on? And so we started first in February, the committee, and we did a mock-up, a cardboard mock-up, and moved it around in different locations. You'll see here that the original mock-up was actually a round column. And then it was decided that, to match the columns on the porch, which are square, we needed more square columns to be, and Carlene's the one that pointed that out, saying, look at there, because she came along with Larry, because Larry Eubanks is part of the committee and so that's how we got to this stage, where we had the clay bus top and our mock-up showing, our dimensions. So we finally had our scale and size, and we thought, okay, this is going to be easy. We know what we want. Good luck finding it. So we thought, we're going to have to get a new one. We're going to have to find one, where are we going to? And then the blessing of having an interior designer on your board is immense. And Richard Bettinger, thank you, Richard, happened to, because he works in the design district of Dallas, knew that this architectural company, so Petite, is that how you say it?
Yes.
Petite Architecturals and Antiques, just down from his office, had this kind of stuff. So he went and had a look, and sure enough, this very pedestal, this antique French limestone, circa early 1800s, had recently been brought in by this company. They had brought in 4 from France, and wouldn't you know, it was the exact dimensions of what we had visioned, of what this, that has to be divine, right? That this pedestal is the exact size. It was significantly more money than what we anticipated, but such is so much in life, and so we just kind of bucked up and threw some more money in, got a few more donations, and we were able to get this. And again, thanks to Larry and Carlene Eubanks, they braved a major rainstorm to go over to Dallas to retrieve this pedestal for us. But we got it here on May 30th. And then Michael delivered the bronze portrait on June the 3rd. And remarkable. And then we had another divine intervention and grace, where just by happenstance, no plan, Aileen Stringer, who's 95 years old, soon to be in another week, 96, happened to come over to the gardens early July to do an interview with an individual. And I had met Aileen before. And so I thought, what is special about this is that she's probably the last individual alive, that's still alive, that actually sat for Douglas. Now, she sat for him in a kind of unusual way, in that she was hired as the hand model for Douglas while he was finishing the Queen Elizabeth portrait. So Douglas had went over to England, had 8 sittings with Queen Elizabeth, and then brought the canvas back here to finish it. And he needed a hand portrait. And so he had hired Aileen. She was 23 years old at the time in 1952. And she remembers it as if it was yesterday, she says. So when she's sitting here in the great room, and I brought in the bus, I thought, I wanted to see what she thought, because she actually was here in this room with Douglas, and she looked at it and she stared, and I thought, well, does she like it or doesn't she like it? And she said, it's a remarkable likeness. And so, Michael, you did an amazing job, because she said that's Douglas. And so she went on to say that while the 4 days that she was hired to be the hand model, she said, at 4 o'clock we had to quit, because Douglas insisted that we have tea at 4 o'clock. And it was tea and light snacks, light bites, so that's why we had tea today. Afternoon tea, because that's what Douglas would have done this time of day. So it was quite remarkable to have her. She's a Spitfire for 95, but it's even approved. So then we went to installation. So we thought finding the pedestal was tough, but then we had the next challenge of no one wanted to work on a 200-year-old pedestal because they were scared they were going to wreck it. So we contracted or approached several different contractors about, hey, would you install a pedestal and install the bronze on the pedestal? The minute we told them what they were going to be working with, no, that's not our specialty. Not touching a 200-plus-year-old limestone pedestal, antique. So, but we did, thanks to references, Anne and Joe here made a recommendation of Silla Masonry from, not Oviedo, where are they from? Azle. Silla is from Azle. I highly recommend him. He was not afraid of this. He approached this just without a second. He was serious about it, but he got it done, and he was so competent that, and there he is, and his crew installing the bronze and the pedestal. And then we had to still wait for the plaques themselves to arrive, so that they arrived in late August, and I had to call Alvaro back to install the plaques. We got that, and so lo and behold, on August the 23rd, 2024, we got the bronze installed. So that's the overall arching from December or mid 2021 to August of 2024 is kind of a span of this project. But it wouldn't have all happened if it hadn't been for significant fundraising and donations. We as a foundation have never took on a project of this scale. While it'd be fairly insignificant in the grand scope of some of the project scales that we hope to take on, this is the first time we said, okay, well, if we can raise the funds and get donations completely for it, because we had some of our other funds already earmarked for other projects, this will be a go. And we thought, well, I wonder how long it's going to take us to do this. But because of all of your generosity, it wasn't all that long. So how did we approach this? We started first with doing raffles. So we had some china donated, and we raffled that off. So that was kind of some of the seed money for this project back in December of 2021. And that went well, and then we continued to promote and got some individual smaller donations. And then we had another raffle in Christmas of 2022 with Waterford Crystal tree topper that Jamie Waterford donated. So that was awesome. So we were starting to build up our pool of funds in small ways. And then, so those were the smaller side projects. And we also had some memorial funds donated and smaller $100 donations, and every little bit counts. So when you're considering donating and you're going, get $20, I'm putting $20 into this. If you think that doesn't matter, you're absolutely wrong. Even $5, $10 lottery ticket or raffle ticket that you purchase for a project like this really, really makes a difference. So thank you to everyone that bought raffle tickets and donated $5, $10, $100. That's so important to a project like this. But we did have some major donors, and our largest donor was Brian Hartnett, and he donated in memory of his great-grandfather, C.D. Hartnett. And he was so enamored with these gardens, and he loved these gardens. And for those of you that are local here to Weatherford and grew up here and know the history, C.D. Hartnett, his original house is actually Angel's Nest Bed and Breakfast now, up on the hill on Palo Pinto. For those of you, it was on the Christmas tour of homes a few years ago, but he built that home. So he was a prominent family member, and Brian wanted his grandfather to be recognized in some way, so he made a very significant donation to this bronze. But the sad thing, he was so looking forward to this, the fruition and seeing this done, but the sad thing is that Brian passed away on March 7th of this year. So unfortunately, Brian never got to see the bronze completed. And I don't know whether any Brian's family is here today. I had invited a couple of them to come, and they weren't sure whether they were going to be able to make it. So I guess they weren't. His cousin Phil and his wife were going to possibly come, so they must have ended up having something else to do. But they were quite overwhelmed when I talked to them to think that his great-grandfather was being memorialized as well within this project. So that was Brian, and we're very sad that he couldn't be here to see this come to reality. And our next largest sponsor, our donor, was really the Friends of Chandor Gardens and the very first Secret Gardens tour. The profits from this very first tour, which was scary to start with, and Darlene Chapman, this was her vision, and Darlene's here today, to do the Secret Gardens tour, which now we're going to be working on year 4, because we just finished 3, and the second and third ones went to this beautiful little lady standing the Steinway, but the very first year's profits went and were earmarked for the bronze. So thank you to all of you friends who volunteered for this Secret Gardens, continue to volunteer, and all of the hard work, and those of you that buy tickets and go, and those of you that put your gardens on this tour. These are the kinds of projects that you're making come to reality, is the bronze, the piano, and who knows what's next for our next project. So thank you. Thank you, Darlene, for your vision for this. It's become our vision. Everybody say it's the whole group, but it was your vision, and you said we can do this, and you made us, the rest of the committee, believe we could do it. So Darlene, thank you. And then, of course, we've got Jamie and Michael. Jamie Boston and Michael. They're here today. As always, Jamie and Michael support and love these gardens immensely. And Jamie sits on the board as well. And thank you to both of you. And then we have Leah and Dudley, Leah Arnold and Dudley Carroll. Leah's here today, so thank you, Leah. Leah, in her own right, is an artist, and she does sculpture work herself. So when she first heard that we were actually going to do a bronze portrait bust, she was one of our first major donors to say, oh yeah, this is important, and the sculptor arts are not recognized, and there should be more of it. And so thank you, Leah, for being an early believer in this project. And then there's me and my husband. My husband Rob at the back, and myself. Of course I believe in this project. Michael and I had a conversation in the garden early in 2021 where he said, well, do you think the foundation would be willing, as he said? And I thought, hell yeah, we need this. So I guess you could say I put my money where my mouth was and donated. And then Barbara Fife, also a member of the board, she couldn't be here today. But and then Lynn and Bill Warren, and Bill, he's our treasurer. He keeps us honest and works tirelessly towards Chandor Gardens and everything that's done here. And Christy Tull. Christy's here today. And finally, we have the major donors, Omega Foundation Inc. so those are the major donors. So our major donors, we greatly appreciate it because it makes the projects go faster when you have some major donors, as opposed to having to wait 2 or 3 years to have a full 3 secret gardens tours to raise enough money. We were able to do it in a very short time. So we were able to commission Michael as the artist so much earlier than we wouldn't have been able to without the major donors. And so yes, we did it. We did it, and thank you all for making it happen. And this project, in the end, even though I made about 18,000, in reality it's probably closer to 20 by the time we were done, because that pedestal was a lot more money. But it's beautiful, and it was meant to be. And so I thank you all for coming. Does anybody have any questions, any comments? We're all a group of friends here, and it's a very amazing group of you to come out. So if you have any questions about the house or the project, or if you have any question for Michael about his process and what he's done, feel free to speak up. Nothing? Oh, there was a little thank you I forgot to say is Chad and Richard, I don't know if how many of you noticed the absolutely stunning floral bouquet that's on the parlor table up top. Chad and Richard, Chad mainly, put that together at a spur of the moment today, because we had talked about having something beautiful on that table and kind of forgot. And so thank you, Chad and Richard, for lending us that beautiful silver piece and the floral arrangement. I'm sure there's others I have forgotten to specifically thank, so I do thank all of you, and most of all for all of you being here and having the same passion that so many of us, especially those of us on the board, have for this remarkable gem here in Weatherford. So thank you very much.